Touchdown is on.
And now some tempo for Penn State's offense. Aller to the end zone. Touchdown, Omari Evans. What an answer for Penn State. It's intercepted. Tony Rojas.
And it's going to be a double pass. Aller loads, fires, deep. Man there is Warren. Got it. Touchdown, Penn State. Aller going deep. Man is out there, and it's an easy gimme. Omari Evans, touchdown.
Adson, C shot, intercepted. Zion Tracy basically ran the route for Latrell Caples. Adson lobs one. That's going to be intercepted. Tyrese Mills runs it out, slides, and it'll be victory formation for Penn State with 18 seconds to go.
It's time for 25 teams in 25 Grums.
And today it is Penn State. We are joined on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline by the voice of the Nittany Lions, Steve Jones. Steve, good afternoon.
Great to be with you.
So, obviously, a lot of expectations this year, a lot of great returning players coming back, and a lot of folks wondering, is this finally the year James Franklin's going to break through? And I read so much about Coach Franklin, especially from folks nationally who think, they talk hot seat, they talk all these other things. I'm curious how the folks in Happy Valley receive some of the talk that happens outside of Happy Valley about their head coach, who has been very successful the last decade.
Well, I think people realize the success. They've won 34 games in the last 3 years, and in the history of Penn State football, which is an illustrious one, they've never won 34 games in a 3-year span. I mean, he's won 2 Fiesta Bowls, he's won a Rose Bowl, he's won a Big Ten championship. I mean, he's won a lot here. Now the question is, can they break through after getting to the Final Four last year, break through and win the whole thing this year? And look, that's what this training camp's about. To me, the training camp is about trying to identify 50 guys that you think can play in the fourth quarter, because you're going to have to go through a 16-game, maybe 17-game schedule to get there. You're going to need 50 guys to do it.
Steve, kind of along those lines, how much do you think the program in 2025 is embracing the pressure that's going to come this year versus, handling it? Is it more embrace or is it more handling in your mind?
I think that it's been very businesslike. I mean, I've been at every single day of camp I've been to, and it's been businesslike along the way. I don't think there's been it too high, too low. They've just gone about their business like it's a normal camp. I haven't heard anybody talk about rankings at all. I haven't heard anybody talk about pressure at all. They've just been going about their work, and that's what's impressed me about it. They've gone through this entire camp, and I've been there every day, that they've just gone to work and haven't read anything. And I'm sure on social media you've got all sorts of stuff going on around them, but they've acted like it's been no big deal.
Steve Jones, the voice of Penn State. The Nittany Lions in today's 25 teams and 25 Grums. When you look at Drew Aller, last year it seemed like there was a little more emphasis on trying to throw the ball more downfield. The touchdown rate and the interception rate were about the same as they were the year before, but that completion percentage and the yards per attempt were best easily of his career. So what do you think year 4 means as Drew Aller gets ready for 2025?
Yeah, I think he has to be in that 4-to-1 to 5-to-1 interception to touchdown area. I think he's done a much better job of working in the 3 to 5 foot circle in the pocket that you need to work in to make things happen. I think he does a great job now of seeing the field. He practices like a guy that has started 29 games in his career, which he has. And it makes a big difference when you have somebody like that with that kind of game experience who understands the speed of the game from that position, and he has all of that.
What do you think, Steve, this year? I don't want to say, how much help is he going to get from Allen and Singleton, because the answer, of course, is a lot. But, how much better can they be, because they have had an incredible career together, almost 6 yards a touch combined, almost 70 touchdowns, close to 7,000 yards from scrimmage. I mean, what does it look like for an encore this year?
Well, look, this is exactly what you want. You want, in today's game, 2 running backs like that who have slightly different styles. Singleton is a home run hitter without question. You saw that in the Fiesta Bowl when he broke off that 58-yard run to put the game away. Yet, if you look at the total body of work in the Fiesta Bowl, the better running back that day was Katron Allen, who was outstanding in that game. And, you look at Singleton being the home run guy, but Allen is a guy who's down 12 pounds from last year, which is interesting. He's actually lighter than Singleton, yet his nickname here is Fat Man. But whether the two of them have really improved, especially Singleton, is in the pass game. Singleton used to be what I would call a body catcher, where the body was the third hand. Now he puts the hands out in front of him like a wide receiver does, and that makes a big difference in the ability to get yards after the catch. And Allen's always been a good receiver. So they're going to be important, not just running the football behind a veteran offensive line, but also they're going to be critical in Penn State's pass game because the two of them are really good, especially in the open field.
Yeah, and Steve, on top of then all of that, Andy Kotelnicki, year 2 as the offensive coordinator. Just a better understanding of his offense and what he is going to be asking of them. Where does that show itself, do you think, this year?
Well, I think it shows in a lot of ways because he has a better handle on the personnel as to what they can and cannot do. And that is a critical part to any part of coaching. You have to figure out what can my players do and what can't they do? And then you shape everything around that. And I'll give you a pro example of that. Vic Fangio, the Philadelphia Eagles defensive coordinator, outstanding coordinator, great career, goes to the Philadelphia Eagles last year, and the Eagles went 2-2 in the first 4 weeks of the season. Now, people forget that because they were so dominant in winning the Super Bowl last year over Kansas City. But they were 2-2 to start. They had a bye week because Fangio finally figured out in a 5-week span what his defenders could do and what they were incapable of doing. Then he shaped it around that, and then it became a dominant defense. Every coordinator has to do that, and Andy's been able to do that. And the fact that Drew Aller is into his second year as a starter for him is a big difference for both of them.
Steve Jones, the voice of Penn State, joining us on Sportsmanlike Conduct. It was a pretty sizable overhaul of the wide receiver room with players leaving, obviously Tyler Warren, the great tight end who's now with the Colts, but bringing in the transfers that they did. What do you make now of the pass catchers that are going to be around Drew Aller this year?
Well, Penn State is probably one of the great developmental programs in the country. They're very judicious in their use of the transfer portal. And this was a position, though, they felt they needed to use that, and they decided to go after the transfers in the wide receiver group. Trevor Pena from Syracuse, Kyron Hudson from USC, and Devontae Ross from Troy. What's interesting about the three of them is that they're really different. Hudson, he'll fight for the ball. I mean, the ball's thrown in his area, he will fight for the football. Ross has that speed, the quickness that you're looking at that can really, push downfield. And Pena's a lot like Parker Washington, who's now with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's that kind of player. At tight end, Khalil Dinkins is an excellent all-around tight end. Dinkins is an excellent blocker, very good receiver, made some big plays for them last year in the pass game. And Luke Reynolds has phenomenal hands. His hands are comparable to Tyler Warren's.
Ooh.
And I think you'll find that these guys it'll be a different way of playing because, look, Warren was the Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
He played 9 different positions during the course of the year. So I'm not expecting any of these guys to go out and snap the ball and run a pattern like the USC game. But I do expect that they'll be able to they won't give Penn State 104 catches because the wideouts are going to have more catches this year, I think. Because you look at the Notre Dame game in the Orange Bowl, Penn State didn't have a wide receiver catch a pass in that game.
No.
Right? Well, okay, that tells you right away you needed to overhaul it. They did.
Steve, I'm curious, you talk about not using the portal very much, but on the defensive side of things, going out and getting former North Carolina Tar Heel Amari Campbell at the linebacking core, I'm curious what the early returns have been on camp from him.
He's been really good. You have Dominic DeLuca and Tony Rojas, the two guys that return passes in the SMU game for touchdowns. They're both back, and they're really good all-around players. Campbell steps in. You're looking for somebody that, because Tamir Robinson transferred out, so they needed to get somebody to come in. So when he transferred out and he ended up going to USC, they felt they had to get another veteran linebacker there. And Campbell was the guy with the green dot at North Carolina, so you know that he has a great understanding of defense. And not only that, I think he's somebody that plays the run well, and I'm also impressed how he times up blitzes and how he scrapes off of blitzes. I think that's a really good pickup. And again, judicious use of the transfer portal. They only have, I think, 6 transfers from this past year. Everybody else's guys they happen to bring in.
Steve, Penn State probably made the hire of the offseason of any of the assistant coaches or coordinators, bringing over Jim Knowles to run the defense. You, of course, have seen him on the other side of the field in the Ohio State matchups the last couple of years. Like, what has most impressed you about his defenses that you think he can apply to this unit in 2025?
Well, he's an impressive guy.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. He understands what to do, why to do, when to do it. He is a little more complicated than what Penn State ran last year, and because they're more complicated, I think they'll be far more difficult for opposing teams to look at and say, okay, they're going to do this because you're not quite sure. And Jim, I think, really excels in the red zone. I think his red zone defensive calls are outstanding, and those are the times where you're trying to keep teams either you're trying to get a turnover or you're trying to hold them to a field goal, and I think that's an area where he really excels.
What's going to be the biggest question then on that side of the ball for Penn State?
I don't really have a lot of questions on either side of the ball for Penn State. I think it's just a question of going out and taking care of business week by week. This is not a team, like I said, to me it's identifying 50 players. And when I say 50 players, you need to have 10 defensive backs, including your nickels. You need to have 6 linebackers, 5 defensive ends, 5 defensive tackles. You need 8 offensive linemen. You need 3 tight ends, 4 running backs, 7 wide receivers, and 1.5 quarterbacks. I mean, that's how you need to navigate the season, because you're going to go through a season. People are going to get banged up along the way. You've got to be able to competently replace somebody along the way while keeping your depth strong enough to negotiate a 16-game season.
Steve, speaking of navigating, I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on the schedule because, of course, you know, with James Franklin in the program right now, there is always going to be talk about the matchup with Ohio State, given that they haven't won that game since 2016, though they've, of course, had quite a few close calls in there. But they also have Oregon coming in for the whiteout game at the end of September, which should be spectacular. No Michigan on the schedule this year. What do you think of the 2025 cast of opponents?
Well, I think it lays out exactly the way you would hope it would. Where you need to have a bye week, I think they have one. I think the opening part of the season allows them to get into the season because college football is the only sport that we have where there's no preseason games. I mean, now, as useless as some of the NFL preseason games are, at least some guys are getting work in games against somebody else. That doesn't happen in college football. College basketball has scrimmages against other teams, but college football does not. So I don't mind, getting into the season and then finally getting to a game like that. Look, you've got enough big games in the schedule when it's all said and done. The bottom line is do what you can to get to the 12-team playoff, and after that, try and make some hay.
Steve, we like to wrap up each of these team previews with some quick answer questions. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right, let's do it, Peter.
Rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
You do not throw rocks at a man who's got a machine gun.
Rapid fire.
The most important player.
Drew Allen.
The player you're most interested to see how they contribute this year.
Nittany Wheatley.
What is the floor of expectation this year at Penn State?
Got to go as far as you can.
The thing you love most about this year's squad is?
Depth and camaraderie.
The thing that worries you most about this team is?
Not much.
The percentage chance that Penn State has of beating Nebraska.
I'm on in Omaha.
Yep.
Like, put it this way, I know who the favorite's going to be going in.
What's your regular season record prediction?
And by the way, you got to remember, Matt grew up here. I know. I know Matt. I mean, Matt played at State High, for goodness sakes. I don't do records. I never have.
All right.
The last time I did a record was 2005. I was speaking to a group, and Jack Ham and I agreed that we thought they'd go 11-1 that year.
And they did.
And they did.
That was a good team.
Right, they did, but when you do something like that, what's the first question you get? Who's the one?
Yep.
I'm done. I'm not going to do that.
Will you pick a Big Ten champion for us?
Let's see if they can beat Nevada first. I'll move on.
Wow. And 3 teams that you like to win the national title.
3 other teams I think could possibly be in it.
Yes.
I mean, I think Texas is darn good this year. They look really, really deep. I mean, we all know that Ohio State's really good, and I think Notre Dame is a team I looked at last year. C.J. Carter can play well at quarterback. I think they've got a shot because their schedule is – they start out with Miami, which should be very interesting. If they get through the Miami game, that may set the tone for them.
Steve Jones, the voice of Penn State. Steve, we always –
you know what?
What?
I want to give Clemson a shout-out, too. I want to give Clemson a shout-out.
You're our first honorable mention.
Well, we've had people only pick 2, so I'll throw a vote
allow it. Perfect.
For the Clemson Tigers. Steve, have an awesome season. We really appreciate the preview.
I look forward to it. Thanks so much, guys.
You bet.
Thank you, Steve.
Jones, the voice of Penn State. Wow. You can tell there's a little... Maybe there's some nerves there in Happy Valley. Man, we got to live up to these expectations, but we can't say it.
He doesn't want to jinx anything. Look, we talked about it. The season will come down to the matchup in Columbus against the Ohio State Buckeyes late in the year.
Yeah.
K Ford gives them a 38% chance to win. That is the only game on the entire schedule that is below 50%. John, it is the only game on the schedule below 73%. This is an incredibly manageable schedule for the Nittany Lions. So, this should be an 11-1 type team this year.
It is.
But.
But.
Bye week before Oregon, bye week before Ohio State. Man, that is so nice.
I
you're going to
agree.
talk about our friends to the east?
I agree with Steve that the buys come at a pretty good time, though. Hey, if Eric Dixon starts for Villanova, I give the Wildcats a fighting chance. But you look at the clumps, and after you get past Oregon, they will not have back-to-back weeks at home.
That's true.
So there's
That's a
going to
great
be
point.
home road. Indiana, who knows what's going to happen
For
there.
sure. For sure.
And especially coming off of Ohio State.
If you lose
that game and people start and the negativity starts to flow, does Indiana come in there and maybe surprise you? You know, can Nebraska take advantage? Can Nebraska take advantage of its placement, late in the season?
And hell, John, let's say this. Let's say Penn State, rather. Let's say they finally do it. They get past Oregon, they get past Ohio State, and they're taking care of business. Are they actually a little tighter at 10-0? There's a world where they're not. There's a world where they finally get past the Buckeyes and they're actually great. But there's also a world where the pressure is mounting because they're obviously a playoff team, but then they're staring down at a number 1 seed. They're looking at a bye. They're looking at a manageable path. And maybe Nebraska jumps up and gets them. I will say this, and I called them out. Iowa, if that game is at night, all bets are off. They play so well at Kinnick in those environments.
Yes,
they played
do.
one of the Saquon Barkley teams to they were up with whatever seconds left, and I think Penn State walked them off back in 2017. This is a team that has pulled off big wins in that stadium before because they have a great atmosphere.
I'll give you one other game that could be a bit of a slip-up. Going all the way across
UCLA.
the country to UCLA the week after playing Oregon. So there are some potential landmines out there. I agree. I mean, Penn State, they are loaded, and I agree with Steve. There's not a lot of questions on this team. They should be really good offensively and defensively. But there can be some landmines out there, and as our friend Michael Severe likes to say, James Franklin occasionally will have one of those games where he just you wonder where the decisions are coming.
Stinkers.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. That said, this is a great team. I mean, he mentioned it when you asked him the thing he's most concerned about, and he said not much. There's not a lot to worry about with this team. It really is all up here, man. I really think that's the case this year.
It's just about getting done and getting through the grind of the season. Because think about it.
The season's going to come down to the playoff for them. That's what it is.
Because, okay, so they finished with 5 straight. Let's say they're playing in the Big Ten Championship. There's another week. They could go 6 straight weeks with a game and then have to get ready for a playoff. And that's
a great point.
That can be another tough stretch as well. Granted, a lot of teams have this, but let's face it. Right now, what we're doing with Penn State is we're kind of nitpicking here.
We are, because they're really, really good.
Because as far as all of the previews we've done so far, this one feels like the most complete team we've previewed. And we've talked about Texas, and we've talked about Alabama, we've talked about Ohio
Clemson.
State.
I would agree. There are fewer questions.
And there's fewer questions.
That's what it is. That's the thing. There are fewer questions with this team versus the other contenders. I mean, really, man, when one of the biggest questions surrounding your program is, can they get over the hump? I would say that means you're doing so much spectacularly. And that's what it comes down to. Can they get over the hump? We've asked that question. We asked it of Ryan Day last year. We asked it of Jim Harbaugh the year before. Like, that's not a new question for college programs. We asked it of Georgia back in 2021, and they were able to. This is a team that is on my short list to win the national championship. My very, very short list. Penn State is on that list.